Dear participants, we extend a very warm welcome from School of Foreign Languages, Indira Gandhi National Open University, to all of you. It's a special moment for SOFL to be coming ahead with this international webinar on digital material development in foreign language learning. It's my pleasure to invite Dr. Dipanvita Srivastava for the welcome address. Dr. Srivastava is herself a specialist in didactics of French language and is counted among the pioneers of distance language learning. Associated with OIGNU for more than a decade now, she has successfully developed and contributed significantly to French studies in India. She is widely published and has been invited a researcher at several international universities. Her books on didactics of French language and mobility studies have been appreciated. The domain of research at SOFL has successfully grown under her guidance, and she has recently launched the first master's program in French language in distance and open mode in India that has seen exceptional success. Oh, over to you, ma'am, for your address.
Thank you, Vishal, for the very kind words. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Nageshwar Rao, Madam Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Sumitra Kukreti, our Chief Guest, Shri Vipin Kumar, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Education, Government of India, Monsieur Jack Amberg, President Ludovic, Dr. Arun Santalingam, President, Association of Indian French Professionals and Researchers, IFPRO, all our distinguished Pro Vice Chancellors, heads of schools of study, divisions and units, IGNU, all directors, regional centers, IGNU, dear colleagues, participants, and students. A very warm note of welcome to all our distinguished audience today from the SOFL IGNU, New Delhi, India. It is an absolute honor and privilege for us to come up today with this international webinar in collaboration with IFPRO. The theme, as you would have noted, is relevant and very core to the areas of engagement we are following, not only at IGNU, but also at a national level, promoting the ideas of lifelong learning and digital India. A fundamental tool here, we note, the use of technology, ICT, and multimedia, an aspect which has been not only duly recognized, but emphasized in the NEP 2020 as well. The theme of our webinar today is a step in this direction and brings on board two exceptional invitees to address our gathering today. Shri Vipin Kumar from the Elite Indian Administrative Services, presently with the Union Ministry of Education, and Monsieur Jack Amberg, internationally renowned specialist of education technology, joining us from France. SOFL once again extends to you all a very warm welcome to this webinar, and now request our event moderator, Shri Vishal Sinha, to take this ahead, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I would like now to introduce Dr. Arun Kumar Santalingam, President, IFPRO. Dr. Santalingam is a scholar and academic, well known in the field of French studies, an internationally known researcher, teacher, trainer. As well, he has contributed significantly towards introducing new methods and tools for the new age language learners of French. President founder of the Association of Indian French Professionals and Researchers, IFPRO, and managing director of the well-known French firm, Loretta Language Solutions at Puducherry. He is also the founder of the Lingua Mystica, a unique initiative for exchange, collaboration, and research in the field of French studies. A doctorate in didactics of French as a foreign language from the Pondicherry University. He also holds a licence lettres modernes from Université Chargy Pontoise and a master from the Université Rouen in France. With his long association with the Embassy of France, as also with the Alliance Francaise network in India, as course in charge at Bangalore, he has extensive field knowledge of the French learning situation in the country. A qualified Prof Plus trainer of the French Ministry of Education for French teachers in India, he remains part of the core team of the Educational Training Wing of the French Institute, IFI, India. Engaged in research projects of the APEX research body in France, CNRS, he has remained associated with the Université Grenoble-Alpes, UGA, France, and is a frequent invited speaker at the Université Lille, Bordeaux, France. We are delighted to welcome Dr. Santhanalingam now for his opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Respected Chief Guest, Shri Vipin Kumar IAS, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Education, New Delhi. Honorable Vice Chancellor of IGNOU, Professor Nageshwar Rao, Professor Sumitra Kukreti, Pro Vice Chancellor, IGNOU, Dr. Deepanvita Srivastava, Director, School of Foreign Languages, IGNOU, and our guest of honor, Mr. Jacques Olivier Amberg, President Ludovic SAS France. And good afternoon to all viewers and participants across the globe. Bonjour and namaste. It gives me immense pleasure. It gives me immense pleasure to meet you, to address today. And I would like to cordially welcome to this international webinar. I would like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation first to Dr. Deepanvita for arranging this webinar in an age where artificial and human intelligence merge and march together. AFPRO, Association of Indian French Professionals and Researchers, is an association with representatives all over the country in the process of forging new pathways to French teachers and French professionals. The association has been working constantly with universities, colleges, schools, and with the government, both Indian and French, to reach out to the teachers in need of training. Our recent drive, Phoneticathon, is a tour of India, reaching 12 cities to create phonetic awareness and to help French teachers and students to acquire the near-native accent. AFPRO has partnered with the international organizations, universities, and publishers to make sure that the quality of French teaching is at international standards. As we know that we are living in an era driven by chatbots and ChatGPT, the importance of technology seems to play a vital role in the field of teaching foreign languages. Breaking the wall to digital material development is the need of hour in India. And we have been constantly discussing this with the French students and researchers and with the French teachers. We have been motivating them to come out with Indian applications for language learning, collaborating with the computer science departments of their respective institutions. Recently, we have collaborated with French Tech Academy in Pondicherry in the premises of Lycée Français International de Pondicherry, which has launched coding for juniors, for kids. So the era of digitalization has begun, and we need to be prepared for the future. Self-guided digital tools have gained more importance post-pandemic, and it is important to conduct more webinars and more discussions of this type. I congratulate once again Dr. Deepanvita for taking this initiative to organize this international webinar, which throws light on the development of more digital materials for the foreign language learning community. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for your remarks. And taking the program forward, I would like to now introduce Professor Sumitra Kukreti, Pro Vice Chancellor, Indira Gandhi National Open University. She is an outstanding scholar of T.S. Eliot, contemporary English women literature. She has authored many books and over 50 research papers in journals of national and international repute. Before joining Indira Gandhi National Open University as a Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Kukreti has taught in HNB Garhwal University, Srinagar, Garhwal, G.B. Pant University of Engineering and Technology, Pantnagar, and Mahatma Jyotiba Phule Rohilkhand University, Bareilly. I would now like to invite Professor Sumitra Kukreti to deliver his special address. Ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Honorable Vice Chancellor IGNOU, Professor Nageshwar Rao ji, my fellow Pro Vice Chancellors, distinguished guests, Shri Vipin Kumarji, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Education, Guest of Honor, Mr. Jack Hamburg, and distinguished speaker, Dr. Arun Kumarji, Director, SOFL, Dr. Deepanvita Srivastava, and all other faculty from SOFL. Good afternoon to one and all. First of all, I'm really delighted that today SOFL is going to organize this webinar on digital material development in foreign language learning. As all of us know that School of Foreign Languages is offering various programs, masters as well as diploma and certificate programs in various foreign languages. And we know that here, if we are able to provide digital material to students, to learners in all these foreign languages, it will solve many of our problems. Usually, as IGNOU basically is an ODL university, and we have to prepare the programs, content, and the entire program material in print form. It is usually problematic because it takes much time. If we are able to prepare this digital material, of course, we have already started going online. Even SOFL has launched many programs in online form, which are highly successful and which are attracting students in large number, which are very popular among students. But if we are able to prepare digital material for all the programs, definitely it will solve many of our problems, because first of all, it will curb all the expenses of publication. It will be very easy to circulate and to distribute to the students. And as all of us are fully aware that digital material is very, very handy for the students to use, who can use it at any time, at any place, whenever they require, they can use it because it is available to them in the form of, in the form of soft copy in their mobile, in their tablet and whatnot. So it's also, a matter of convenience on the part of students. It will save our money, it will save finances, and then definitely students will also be encouraged to use it more and more. So again, on behalf of IGNOU and on behalf of SOFL, first of all, I welcome all the learned speakers. I also thank them for sparing their valuable time, and I congratulate School of Foreign Languages and particularly Dr. Deepanvita Srivastava, who has arranged this webinar. She is very active. She has been involved in various academic activities. Recently, she has launched Masters in French, which is already in great demand. There are a large number of the students who have already enrolled in this program. I hope this is just a beginning, and in future we'll also have many such programs, webinars on digital material development. And thank you and congratulations to you. Over to you, Dr. Vishal.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your kind words. I would like to now introduce our chief guest, Shri Vipin Kumar. Shri Vipin Kumar is an Indian Administrative Services officer of the 1996 batch, Bihar cadre. He is presently working with the Government of India as Additional Secretary in the Union Ministry of Education and part of the core team for implementation of the National Education Policy 2020. With a background and training at the Harvard Kennedy School, he is also a technocrat and a BTech in Electronics and Communications. He has been actively involved in project implementations of the Government of India related to development of online modules for adult education and for Ministry of Education and using of ICT for this purpose. With a special emphasis on achieving the SDG 4 of UNESCO, he has contributed significantly towards ensuring equal access and affordable and quality technical, vocational, and tertiary education, including in higher education institutions. His main areas of work are linked with implementation of New Education Policy 2020, aiming at skill education in education policies, transforming methods of evaluation from summative to formative assessment. He has been involved in the workings of the assessment standard setting body, PARAKH, Performance Assessment, Review and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development, a World Bank project. With a very impressive body of work and wide experience in the domain of education, planning, and administration, we are honored to invite now Shri Vipin Kumar for the special address as chief guest today. Sir, over to you.
So thank you, Vishalji. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you are.
Thank you. So Professor Nageshwar Raoji, the Vice Chancellor IGNOU, Professor Sumitra Kukreti, Vice Chancellor Pro VC IGNOU, Dipanvita Srivastav, Director School of Foreign Languages IGNOU, Shri Arun Kumarji, President AIPRO, and the guest of honor, Mr. Jacques Oliver Amberg, President Ludo-VIC, Paris, and other my friends, dignitaries in this VC. I am truly honored to address this esteemed gathering at the international webinar on digital technology and foreign languages. It is a privilege to be here before such a diverse and knowledgeable audience, representing various facets of educational landscape. Today, I wish to discuss a topic of utmost importance and relevance, that is the integration of digital technology into the realm of education, especially concerning foreign languages, as we navigate the dynamic landscape of educational policies and initiatives in India. So I have one presentation and I like to share with you all, if I am allowed to say it.
Ashutoshji, is the sharing enabled? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Sir, you could start sharing, please. It's been enabled. Yes, sir, it's visible.
So now my screen is visible.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So Government of India announced National Education Policy in 2020, July, but there were many policies also which were announced earlier. But what is special about this? Actually, till now, we were asking the students to come in the schools, but Honorable Prime Minister is having a vision that now time has changed and the students, they have to face the competition at global level. So they need to have the skills of 21st century and they need to be the global citizens from our country. They are getting education in India, but they are going to work in different parts of the country. So that is why this national education policy is having the vision. So this is a policy which is having a commitment for social inclusivity. It introduces groundbreaking concepts such as creation of special education zones for disadvantaged groups and development of 21st century skills. By emphasizing critical thinking, problem solving, communication, collaboration, and creativity, NEP 2020 is ushering in a generation of students well prepared to tackle the challenges of 21st century. So these are the main components of our national education policy for school education. Primarily, it changes the curriculum from 10+2 to 5+3+3+4. And digital transformation also is the most important aspect of national education policy. It is having the concept of virtual labs, technologically assisted learning platforms, personalized adaptive learning, learning apps and platforms, etc. During COVID also, the digital initiatives were started by the Ministry of Education Diksha is the platform under PME Vidya, which ensured the availability of e-content to all the students in different parts of the country. Then Manobhat Darpan was a toll-free helpline for socio-economic and psychological needs of the students. Then student resources, they were delivered through a platform on PME Vidya through Dish TV channels under the bouquet of Swamprabha TV channels. And Swamprabha is under NCERT also and NIS also. They also provide the content to Swam channel. E-textbooks were developed, e-contents of NCERT was Oni Pathshala and National Repository of Open Schooling Educational Resources were also there. So what NEP says about digital intervention is like the digital effort should be inclusive, accessible. Digital platforms should be optimized, expanded. We should create the content also, and pilot studies also should be there to determine that how the benefits of online digital education can be reaped. These are the key initiatives which I already shared. This is the most important aspect of national education policy, that is NDR. NDR is National Digital Educational Architecture, and it was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister in February 2021. It was to boost the digital architecture for education, and this is the architectural blueprint of educational ecosystem in the country. It defines a set of principles, standards, and specifications, guidelines, and policies to strengthen the digital infrastructure. The government will not be building technological solutions for education sector, but it will act as an enabler, offering a framework where the technology people, they can come, they can develop, they can create the content, and it can be used by anyone. It promotes a digital first approach, supporting teaching, learning activities, facilitating educational planning as well as governance and administrative activities. It aims at creating digital foundation driving towards autonomy and self-governance of all parties involved, particularly states and center. The framework implies that systems and solutions that worked in one state can be shared across the country and adapted in other parts of the country also. So we are working to create NDR, and the concept is that once a student enters in educational system, the child should get unique ID, he should be entered, and it is not only school education, but in higher education system also, in skilling also, the outcomes of the child should be monitored. So I think by the end of this academic year, this system will be in place, and this is going to be the game changer. How this NDR will help these students? It will provide access on-demand learning. The teachers will have access for support lesson plan. School management will have access to practices, school-related ERPs. Parents also will have access to HPCs, Holistic Progress Card. Educational administrators will use data analytics to bridge the infrastructural gaps. And that is why this NDR is very innovative idea under national education policy. It is having software also, support team also, hardware also. All state governments and national level NDR is going to come, and higher education department also will take it forward. So for NDR, I just shared that we are going to have VSK, Vidya Samiksha Kendra. So what all these things will be under this Vidya Samiksha Kendra? It will have PM Shri schools, it will have diets also on board, it will have Shagan repositories, the Parak, the Prashast. Prashast is the app to give the initial checking, initial assessment of a child regarding any disability if the child is suffering from. These are our online teaching platform tools. SWAM is an initiative of Department of Higher Education. It provides teachers with a structured, user-friendly, rich set of assistive tools for monitoring progress of the learner. What is SWAM? SWAM is Study Web's of active learning for young aspiring minds. It is a free online education program which was started by Government of India. SWAYAM is a Government of India on massive open online courses platform which has been offering online courses in disciplines such as science, engineering and technology, humanities and social sciences, law, management, etc. It was started to achieve three important principles of education, that is access, equity and quality. The objective is that anyone, anywhere, anytime, learning at no cost, ensuring equity in quality education. It was launched in 2017 and 9 academic discipline-wise national coordinators are there. NPTEL, UGC, CEC, IIM Bangalore, IGNOU, NCERT, NIS, ICT and NITER. They are the partners. Course creation and online delivery is coordinated by NC, national coordinators. Credit transfer framework up to 40%. This has been enabled through UGC regulation, and SWAYAM platform and courses, they are fully supported through Department of Higher Education. More than 3 crore courses have been enrolled and 30 lakh examinations have been undertaken. If you see what are the initiatives under SWAYAM, one is that it provides the facility to credit transfer. Any student can take the course on SWAYAM platform and can get the credit transferred for higher education. For this, the students get the support of GATE examination. NPTEL Plus is a package of courses which students can have. It provides soft skill training. Industry associates also are there. CSR, through CSR, we are getting content and support for this. It is having the translation for different courses, and labs and workshops also are there. It provides, MOU also has been done with SIT for NPTEL courses. If you see this slide, so it will show how many courses one student has taken, one learner has taken. So if you see in the last extreme right, around 10 lakh learners have taken one course. 2 courses have been taken by more than 1 lakh, maybe around 3 lakhs learners, etc. And similarly, if you see the semester wise, how many learners have been enrolled and how many learners have gone for examinations. And the category wise breakup is 76% college students are there, 19% college faculty are there, and 5% are from industry. So what is the issue of language? This is very important. We are today discussing about the foreign language, but SWAYAM provides the course translation facility also. Ongoing translation is being done. 64 courses are under translation, and number of courses with different language combination is 142. Number of hours is 3,470, and already around 306 unique courses have been translated in 894 different combinations of languages. So what is the way in which this translation is accessible to the learner on swayam.gov.in is it provides subtitles within a video on YouTube. It provides the scrolling text below the video facility in a separate window on SWAYAM portal. It is having downloadable PDF for each lecture, downloadable as a book where all chapters are collated. It is having MP3 audio of each is available for downloading for each lecture. But the most challenging thing is speech-to-speech translation for SWAYAM courses, which we are going to initiate. If we see language-wise content, so in SMEs, this is, if you see means like 894 translations which we have done is the breakup, 1 in SMEs, 73 in Bengali, etc., etc. This is a concept APAR, Automated Permanent Academic Account Registry, which I told you that every child will have unique ID and we will track that child and the growth of a student through unique ID in VSK in NDR also. So NEP 2020, it says content creation, digital repository and dissemination, how it will take place. It says that the content should include the creation of coursework, learning games, simulation, augmented reality and virtual reality also. It should have fun-based learning, student-appropriate tools like apps, gamification of Indian art, culture and multiple languages with clear operating instructions. This was our PM eVidya. Diksha and TV channels also have been started on Diksha. Around 3 lakh plus e-contents are there. The quality 100% coverage in English, Hindi medium on Diksha, and Indian Science Language video lessons also are uploaded on Diksha. Virtual labs also have been launched on Diksha portal on 29th July 2022, which is the anniversary of National Education Policy. Next initiative is National Digital Library, which is going to be launched in November. It is for the age group of 3 to 18 years. It will have around 500 plus digital books initially, and it will have multilingual app books also in regional languages. Another initiative is Anuvadini. This is a government initiative, but right now we are having it in the Bharatiya languages, but later on it can be developed for foreign languages also, and it will be very useful not only for school education students but for higher education students also. This Anuvadini is online document translation tool which including online editor. This is Chutki. Chutki means real-time document translation service. It is Anant. Anant means it is infinite deep search generative AI engine. It is voice-based multilingual form, a web tool to create the form for any Bharatiya and select foreign languages. I think it is going to be very helpful. Video translation to any Bharatiya and selected foreign language. So this Anuvadini has been developed by AICT. This is Bhashini. Bhashini is another initiative. This is a build national public digital platform for languages via artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies. It will build a community of contributors that works with a unified approach. It unifies and aligns a large diverse network across government, industry, academia, and startups to bring all other contributors in on one open repository. It will create a unifying architecture of open data and open source software to enable contributions from research initiative. Basically, Anuvadini is just a translation tool, but Bhashini will assist the teachers, assist the academicians, assist the industry also to create the content in different languages. So this is a different tool which has been developed. The ecosystem of Bhashini, it is language mission. It is with the central state government. It is for academia and research group with the support of industry, with the support of startup. It provides data source to publishers. It is a source for data collection, curation for the companies, and it will contribute to the individuals. So what is the vision of technology? See, vision is 100% schools, colleges, they should have digital labs. IT infrastructure should be there in schools, and there should be 100%. States should adopt that system of changing technology and need of the student.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very profusely.
So in conclusion, I would like to say that future of education in India is undoubtedly digital. And national education policy, it paves the way for transformative journey. And let us embrace this technological wave and work collectively to ensure that no child, no learner is left behind in the pursuit of knowledge and learning. I would like to say that time has come that the language should not be a barrier to learn the knowledge. because the resources now are available online, but the child, the youth is a global youth today. We are facing the demand in many countries where the shortage of teachers. India is now in a process to provide teachers to those countries. And for that purpose, learning of foreign language and the tools are very important, so that these tools can convert the resources, can assist the teacher, can assist the student also to learn and to teach. So this workshop, I think, is very helpful, and I am very happy to be here. Department of Education, Government of India is taking a lot of initiative, and all the students, they cannot be provided education in physical colleges, physical schools, and IGNOU is doing that contribution to the society, providing the resources to those who cannot join in-person colleges, and they are contributing to the society, to the world in a big way. And these things, that inclusion of digital technology and how to translate one resource into other resource of foreign languages also will be a game changer, will be very helpful for the days to come, for a bright future, not only for the India, but for the world as a whole. My best wishes to all the team members and to the organizers, and special thanks to Dipanvita Srivastava ji. She constantly was chasing me, and I was in a meeting, but still I decided to join. My PPT actually was of 1 hour, but that's why I could not share all the slides in a smooth way, and could not explain the thing. But sometime I like to come and will explain you more details in more details, the things in more details, and will be happy to be with you. Thank you. My pleasure with you, being with you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your explanation about the initiatives taken in the new education policy. I think these.
Vishal, just a minute, if I can pitch in.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, my profuse thanks to you. Yes, I have been chasing you, and I know it was absolutely worth it for the exceptional information we got from you and how the system works. Because we as teachers, we produce things, content, but how it fits into the system and how the larger framework that functions. We learned so much from you, and sure enough, I should be chasing you again for another session, a longer one. And thank you very much. We shall not be holding you for any longer. So you're a busy person, we understand. Thank you very much.
Dipanvita ji, I'll just say one thing, that after this webinar, sometime we can sit, and because you know that we also are having other many stakeholders who are working the field, and like KPMG also is there, Deloitte is also there, Microsoft, Google, and Adobe is there. So these people are working with us, so we can sit and we can see that how we can take it further. Like the translation and content creation also, because that also is very important. And how to have the quality content. It's not just the content.
Yes.
We should have the quality content with the quality, otherwise the student is lost in those resources.
Absolutely.
So we can sit sometime, we can discuss this further, and my best wishes to you.
It's so gracious of you.
Thank
you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Shall you take on from here?
It's time now to begin our special session with our distinguished guest of honor, Mr. Jack Amberg, President, Ludovic, who is joining us from Paris, France. I would now invite Dr. Dipanvita Srivastava, Director, SOFL, and an Associate Professor of French, to introduce our guest of honor. Ma'am.
Thank you, Vishal. This is the absolute pleasure of being a faculty in foreign languages. We feel like we are at important crossroads, handling our own country's issues, and again, going on to the foreign country for the target language. And I find myself placed somewhere in between. So it's a pleasure today to have heard Vipinji, and now going on to Monsieur Amberg for his special lecture. And a lot of our participants are eagerly looking forward to this. So far, we've heard about policies and the larger framework, And now Monsieur Amberg should be talking to us on a very interesting and a very captivating thing that he has developed with his team in France, the language learning app called Ludovic. Before I invite him for his discourse, a word of introduction for Monsieur Amberg. So Monsieur Jacques Olivier Amberg, our guest of honor today. He's an internationally acclaimed pedagogue and specialist in education technology. He's worked with international teams of university technologists and professionals, developing unique models of technology-enhanced language learning, we call TEL, and learner-friendly digital tools that have been widely appreciated in many countries across the globe. A qualified engineer in computer sciences from France, he followed it up by an MBA from the UCLA, United States. He's consistently remained involved with innovation in education and has worked internationally ever since. His involvement with the human resources wing of several corporations in the IT industry have helped him imbibe that unique human factor in the tools he develops and accord him the ideal talents to develop pedagogical apps that are learner-centered and context-specific. Based out of Paris, France, he is presently director of the education technology house, Ludovic, and works in frequent collaboration with senior academicians and specialists at universities and language learning centers, creating tools and dispositives in the domain. We all at the School of Foreign Languages, IGNOU, and IFPRO are delighted to have him as our guest of honor today. Welcome, Mr. Amberg, bienvenue. SOFL is honored. You may begin, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dipandita Srivastava. I must profoundly, I feel I'm totally out of my depth because it's a cultural thing. I did not write down the names of all the distinguished guests. So I can only say I'm really, really honored, and please accept my deepest apologies for not thanking you in person, but I am really happy to see the level of people that are presenting, and I hope to bring something to the conversation through the presentation I'm going to roll out. I will now share my screen.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm looking for my there we are. Can you see my screen?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So I'm here to tell you about the company Ludovic. You may have seen all the binders behind me. I've been in this business for 15 years now, because 15 years ago, my daughter Victoria, which is the Vic of Ludovic, started writing in a number of languages, and she made many mistakes. And being an engineer in computer science, 15 years ago, I created a Pictionary called Vic's Games. I took the 900 words that a distinguished professor from Oxford at the end of the 19th century, this distinguished professor from Oxford had listed the 900 words that people need to know to get around in the world. And I took those 900 words and put them into a Pictionary in 14 different languages, including Arabic, Mandarin, Malagasy, because I lived in Madagascar, or English, German, French, Spanish, etc. I went to the ministry, the French Ministry of Education, back 15 years ago, and they said, "Dear sir, this is not how we learn languages anymore. Today, we learn languages by contextualizing the content. We explain young kids that they need to be able to say, hello, my name is Peter, and not just to say name or just to say hello. They need to put things in sentences to be able to come across. So over the years, with the help of the city of Paris, the region of Île-de-France, and some European funding, we have created a universal engine. And out of this universal engine will come Basique Français, which I will base my demo on, my presentation on. But I must say that when I was in India in November, I visited New Delhi, Bangalore, and Chennai. And in Chennai, I met with two ministers of the Tamil Nadu government. One was in the area of tourism, and he wanted me to develop a basic Tamil targeting all the tourists that come to Chennai for what is called medical tourism. And another member of the distinguished Tamil Nadu government, he was in charge of the expatriate people that are sent over to the Middle East. And he wanted me to develop a basic standard Arabic in Tamil, explaining the future expatriates from Tamil Nadu the basics of standard Arabic that they would need to speak when they arrive in Qatar, Dubai, etc. Of course, Tamil is not the only language. There, as I saw and as I know, there are over 20 languages that this basic standard Arabic would be developed in. We have the engine, the universal engine to do that. Before going to India, I went to Kenya and Rwanda, and in Kenya, I got to meet the local chapter of UNESCO. UNESCO in Kenya asked me to develop a basic Kiswahili. Kiswahili being the national language of Kenya, all the economic migrants that come to Kenya from Somalia, Eritrea, Rwanda, etc., they know their local language, but they don't know Kiswahili. And if they want to work in Kenya, they need to be taught the basics of Kiswahili in the language they understand. This is what we're all about. So I'm going to delve into Basique Français, but what you see of Basique Français, you could see of Basic Standard Arabic, or I would need to learn Basic Hindi or Basic Tamil. All this I could create, and in a very short time, because it's a universal engine, which means that to create, to give you a number, we created the basics of a German dialect. I'm from Eastern France, from the French-German border, and there are 3 versions of that dialect. We created that basic German dialect app in 3 man-months of a professor of that dialect. 3 man-months. That's peanuts, to speak English. Okay, so as I said, we're going to use Basique Français as an example. You can see below that I had to put the logo of the city of Paris, the logo of the Région Île-de-France, the logo of the European Union, because I received funding from all these people. The reason they basically asked me to develop this is because there is a major problem in France with migrants. Migrants are not taught how to speak French early on. So many migrants arrive in France and they do not integrate because they don't have the language skill. So you have the famous ghettos, which there are ghettos everywhere in Germany, in France, in Holland. Those ghettos are a result of the lack of the local government in teaching the basics of French. So my goal is to teach the basics of French so that the learner becomes communicative in that particular language. And once the learner can communicate in the small knowledge of French that that person has, this person has access to knowledge from teachers, from books, from interaction. So we are really at the very low level of learning the basics of a language. And I appreciate, Dr. Srivastava, you're heading a master's in French. Literally, we are not at that level. We want to provide you with students 10 years down the road who will integrate your master's in French. I've talked to professors of French in Holland. In Holland, they're scared that if they don't have a product like mine, 10 years down the road, they will not have any students of French in high schools, because all the students in Holland, you start learning English and German or French at the age of 6. So at the age of 6, kids today in Holland are learning German first. They're not learning French because German is easier for the Dutch. I don't know if the situation is similar in India. Apparently not, because French is a very sought after language, but it is a problem. So some background. Our motto, whatever your mother tongue, whatever your level of schooling, learn the basics of any concept. So I'm going to talk, spelling mistake. I'm going to talk about new language learning, but we're also talking with the French Construction Industry Federation to talk about teaching these migrants, many of which go into construction, the health and safety rules in the construction industry in France. I was talking to the people in Tamil Nadu. We could teach your future nurses that will go, for instance, to Saudi Arabia or the Middle East. We could teach them the health and safety rules which apply in those countries, which are probably slightly different from the health safety rules which apply in India. So it's not, the universal language is very good for teaching basics, and the basics can be very varied. Dr. Srivastava was kind enough to introduce me, so I'll pass on to what I do. Another important element of the team is Dr. Atef Ben Youssef, who's a PhD in artificial intelligence back in 2011. His specialty is conversational international interactive agents, which is the reason why in our scientific committee we have two women. One is the head of university research lab in conversational agents, and another is a professeur de l'Université à la Sorbonne, which is specialized in French didactics. A few key words, and these are basically the titles to my various slides: make it less stressful, make it accessible, make it addictive, make it rewarding, make it emotional. I'm sure amongst all the professors that are listening to this, this must probably hit one of the points that they are certainly interested in. I'll start with make it less stressful. And I had this idea 15 years ago. I'm very glad that UNESCO this year decided to say or ask that countries implement mother language education systems. Teaching French in French to migrants has not worked, except if the migrant is a PhD and has learned how to learn. There's an expression, a French expression is apprendre à apprendre, to learn how to learn. If you haven't done that, it's just not possible. I've studied 8 years in university. If I was to learn Hindi by a teacher who only taught me in Hindi, I am smart. I would not be able to talk Hindi at all, because somewhere it would be bothersome for me to, I'm an open-minded person. I would give this person maybe a day, but after a day, if I don't get any progress in Hindi, I'll just say, forget it. And that's a very important element at the end of this session. Not only if it's not stressful, then you are inclined to give it more effort. So thank you for UNESCO for recognizing and pushing. UNESCO is a big voice in the education world, but okay, they don't have any money, so it's difficult for them to put their policies to work. But I'm sure India has their say in this particular matter. Make it accessible. This is all about ICT. We, of course, have created an app. This app is available since December 2022 on the App Store, on Google Play, on PC Windows. Most of the users, of course, use it on apps on their smartphones, and we recommend that they use it on their smartphone because the artificial intelligence / language recognition is very powerful on Apple and Google smartphones. So we use artificial intelligence today. We only use the speech recognition because we have the same concept as your DP, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act. We have one which is called RGPD, which is just as tough. And because it's tough, we had to take a lot of artificial intelligence out of our software before putting it into the market. Why? Because children can use our product. And when children use a smartphone, the DPD Act says no, basically. I'm maybe a bit short, but it's very difficult to go by this DP Act or RGPD in France. Make it addictive. Initially, 15 years ago, the product was called VIX Games because my daughter is Vic and because it was a gaming type of product. When the French government said, ooh, this is interesting because it will help our migrants, which end up there's an American expression, which is la la land, I mean, they end up in places out there, far from Paris, far from the main cities, where there's nobody to teach them French. Well, they will need to have an app on their smartphone, which they can use to teach themselves French. So they were very, very interested, and they pointed me to a content person that I will share with you later. But the main issue there was Vix Games was an English name, and being the French House Ministry of Interior, the Home Office, they said you can't have an English name application in the French ministry, so please find something else. In my generation, many kids studied Latin, and Ludo in Latin means I play. So Ludovic is still a gaming utility. Ludo happens to be the name of the blue character, the male character, and Vic is the name of the green character. We designed these avatars specifically so as to stigmatize nobody on Earth. This is why they don't have any hair. And they also promote gender equality. This is one of the reasons we got European funding, is because we promote gender equality in the learning process. So these avatars, they actually play out situations, and these situations are played out in French, but using French cultural norms. In France, you can shake a woman's hand, you can look at her in the eyes, etc., etc. So that's a big part of a big reason why we're seeing such an interest from government entities here, is because we have this double feature. We teach the basics of French, and we teach how to behave in the French culture when you meet other people. Once we've taught, using the mother tongue of the learner, once we've taught some elements of basic French, we also check, using these validation exercises in their mother tongue, the amount of the learning which they have actually understood. It's not because I speak English to somebody and that somebody nods their head, that doesn't mean they understood 100% of what I said. And I've done business in Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia, it's very impolite to say no. So nobody will ever say no, even though they may only have gotten 50% of what you're trying to tell them. So this is why us using their mother tongue in asking the questions about, did you understand this concept? Did you understand that concept? Please, let's go through some multiple choice questions, drag and drop exercises, etc. We validate the amount of learning that actually took place. I'm very proud of the picture that you have here, which is a random generator of sentences. Remember, we address the A1 level, meaning 0 to A1, people who are totally illiterate, let's say, in another language. So we give them there the capacity to pronounce easy sentences, subject, verb, complement, easy sentences that pertain to a certain domain. Here, the domain has to do with what languages you speak or which country you come from. And we expect the learner to actually say to the smartphone, vous ne parlez pas italien. Vous, because there's a handshake, which is a formal handshake. So I'm addressing the person formally. Vous ne parlez pas, don't speak Italian, Italian. So the language part, the language or voice recognition part of the application will recognize whether you say this or in a acceptable way or not. And when I show that application to teachers, they say, wow, this is great because we cannot get students to pronounce sentences in French in our classes. They're too afraid of what their friends are going to think about them. And that applies to whatever age students. I happen to have been a professor of mathematics in 2013. I had students which were 12, 14, and 16, but I've also talked with the president of the French conglomerate Total Energy, and he says, you know, I know some VPs in Europe which do not dare to speak French to me, even though they have a good level of French education, but they're afraid of speaking French. So we really put a huge emphasis on speaking, on getting the learner to speak sentences, to say sentences, to validate how the sentences have been spoken, and just to increase the capacity of the learner to actually say a few things in French. I say a few things because, again, we are limiting ourselves to A1. We could go to higher levels and go towards the B1, C1 levels that Professor Srivastava is probably teaching, but there's so much to do at levels A1 because there are 7,000 languages in the world. Only 200 of those languages have an alphabet, and we enable languages or learners that speak a language that does not have an alphabet. We even enable those learners to learn the basics of any other language because we give the instructions orally. I know that all the languages in India have an alphabet. I think so, but I know that in Vietnam, in northern Vietnam, there's a tribe called Muong. They do not have an alphabet, and there are plenty of Muongs that have gone around the world. I forgot to mention, I also went to Vietnam, and the Ministry of Vietnam, which was in charge of their diaspora, said we have 10 million Vietnamese people in the world that left Vietnam, let's say 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. The parents of these children want their children to have some basics of Vietnamese. But these children were brought up in Germany, they were brought up in Bulgaria, they were brought up in the US. So they don't speak Vietnamese anymore. So they would have to be taught using German, Bulgarian, English, the basics of Vietnamese. And we can do that. Money is the only problem. I don't have the money to work on all these issues. Make it rewarding. We have lots of work to do on this, on the user interface, let's say, of the application. We've been told this application needs a better user interface. It needs more color. It needs to be more this and more that. Somewhere I agree, but we had one major problem. Given the fact that our initial market was migrants, and migrants do not have very sophisticated smartphones, we needed the application to run basically on any smartphone. So it could not be, the footprint of the application could not be very heavy. And right now we're at this level, which you'll see in the demo, but it's acceptable. Of course, we can do better, and we aim to do better, in part by coming to India, bringing our R&D and our development department to India. I happen to have a meeting after this meeting with Indian colleagues and to talk about how we can bring the Universal Engine into India, because you have a huge need because of all the languages that things need to be taught in. Make it emotional. This is where we had a lot of artificial intelligence and we sort of scraped it. Why? Because with every smartphone, you have a camera. And thanks to the camera, we could analyze the face of the learner, and we could determine whether the learner was happy or not happy. And we knew, for instance, that the learner had just flunked the test and was not happy. So we had an avatar pop up and say, for instance, in Bangladeshi, because we have Bangladeshi as one of the source languages, we had an avatar pop up and say in Bangladeshi, oops, you flunked that test, let's do it together again. This is the notion of creating an emotion between the learner and the tool. And this is something that is missing in many, many, many MOOCs. I mean, I know you have MOOCs, and it's one of my latest slides, so I'll come back to MOOCs later. But the fact that we want to make it emotional means that people will adhere to the learning process longer. You don't learn French in the basics of French in 1 hour, but we have proof. 2 women, one Ukrainian and one from Northern Africa, they got the basics of French in 40 hours of playing on our app. 40 hours of playing on their app on their own got them to level A1. This is something that I find extremely rewarding. So all these artificial components have been put on standby because of DPDP or GDPR in English. There are plenty of artificial intelligence components available. And they all cater to what I think is a very important sentence. And I have 3 kids, and I know it's important. 9/10 of education is encouragement. You have to push the people, and they have to. The best way, if we all had very good teachers or professors, the best professors were the ones that created interest in their class. If the professor creates interest, the students naturally will listen. If they don't create interest, they'll just wait until, the hours pass and they go on to another professor. So encouragement is both ways. I mean, you can encourage the person to learn, and you can get them interested in the process of learning. Make it emotional. That's the second part where I mentioned a MOOC. It's a figure which I did not invent. I mean, the people that invented MOOCs somewhere on the east or west coast of the US came out with that figure. Only 15% of the people who start a MOOC actually end it. But in your case, where you get a degree or you get some money at the end of the MOOC, then people feel compelled, if you want, to go all the way to the end of the MOOC. But if we talk of things like Babel or Duolingo, which can be considered MOOCs, I can tell you the number of people I've talked to that said, oh yeah, I started learning Spanish on Duolingo and I dropped out. Many, many, many people just drop out because there's this notion of lack of emotion in the learning process. So our R&D factors, what we will develop in terms of R&D are these 2 points: measuring engagement. Engagement is the capacity of the learner to actually be interested in what the person is learning, and defining strategies for re-engagement. I was mentioning the fact that we can analyze the face of a person. If you take a person from Southeast Asia, which I know quite well, if a person from Southeast Asia smiles, it's not a good sign, because the person actually is losing face. That's why they're smiling. Whereas in Europe, if a person smiles, it's a good sign. So, taking just simply using whatever image you get from the smartphone, you need to be going one step further, which is, oh, the person has a smile. What does that mean in their culture? Lots of work to be done in terms of R&D. Okay, how do we apply to the Indian market? Well, we are based on the Common European Framework for Languages, levels A1 to C2. And as I said, we stick to level 0 to A1, even though some professors here in France, among NGOs, use our product for people who have gone past A1 towards A2, because our product allows them to practice their French pronunciation. And French pronunciation is very important. If you have an A1 level on paper, but when you speak French, nobody understands you, that A1 level on paper is worth nothing. You have to be able to be understood in what you think is French. So we go past A1 level. We are Ludovic is a company. I mean, we're a for-profit company because we invest the profits in future developments. One of them being we have 20 modules today. We want to create a 21st module, which would be blank tests. You may be aware that to pass the DELF A1 test from the Institut Français or Alliance Française in India is like, I don't know how much it is in rupees, but it's about 100 euros. So if you're ready to spend 100 euros to pass that test, you better be pretty sure that you're going to get the appropriate level, the appropriate grades in the test. So this is why having a blank test in the app is very important. We can introduce new modules. We have some people are interested in us. A1 level, for instance, does not talk a lot about school and school-linked vocabulary. We have been asked to introduce a 22nd module where the emphasis would be on this is how you communicate with a professor. The professor will tell you about exams, and will tell you about grades, and will tell you about attendance, and how your son or daughter is misbehaving, blah, blah, blah. Tons of vocabulary that is not part of A1, standard A1. But we will create a module where we will be, working your way around a school interaction with a school, interacting with the director of the school, interacting with the professors, etc., etc. Also at level A1, the basics. One thing that was recommended to us by the French Ministry of Education very early on was, please, please, please don't make this into a method. Make it just an extra tool that the teacher, professor, etc. will have in their set of available tools. And the teacher will then assign such and such tool depending on what the needs of the learners are. This is not specific to India. The fact that we have the 70 lessons, this is important. I was, even though I know a number of things in terms of pedagogy, sorry, the Ministry of Education in France sent us very early on to Kabilam Alliance Française in Vichy. Some of you may have been to Kabilam Alliance Française in Vichy. It's the nec plus ultra, or the Mecca of teaching French in the world. There are others in Besançon, etc. But basically, we went there. I know Michel Boiron very well, and we acquired from them the pedagogical content. So in terms of pedagogical content, we are safe. We've got the best content, quote, in the world. What we did is, being IT people, we create a container for that content. And the container is the app. The app runs, that's also an important element. The app needs the internet to be downloaded, but once it's downloaded on your smartphone or your PC, it does not need any internet connection to access 100% of its functionalities. It's only when the smartphone realizes that there's an internet connection available that the smartphone will upload to our LMS, our learning management system. The smartphone will upload the results of all the tests that have been taken offline. This allows a professor to have a helicopter vision of the progress or the problem areas of the students in the class, because the data, the big data, because it's actually big data, is centralized. Another element which we aim to centralize is this notion of speech recognition, taking into account local accents. Right now, Apple and Android speech recognition is pretty good, but I know I've been told that Android speech recognition is pretty bad at Indian English, to the point that they want to create a special speech recognition from Indian English. So we want to, because we only have 70 dialogues, we know what the dialogues are, and we know we can create, using artificial intelligence, recording people from, if we have 500 people from Bangladeshi who speak Bangladeshi, say the same sentence, we can feed this to a large language model system, and we can produce an app that will understand French as spoken by people from Bangladesh. And there's a huge amount of work to be done. And that's also of interest, of course, to India, because you have, I think, 20 languages to deal with. And of course, I would say the Indian accent, when you speak French or English, they're fairly standard. But I was told by some people that are from Delhi that when they go to Kerala, they just don't understand what is said, because, okay, it's one of the many Indian languages, but they're so far apart that thank God there's Indian English. Okay, last but not least, during my trips, I was introduced by the French embassy to Dr. Arun Kumar Santalingam, and he has become the distributor of the product in India. It's very important for me to have a local person who's very well known in the area of French, because to me, the Indian market is, of course, an opportunity, but I'm the CEO of a company and I cannot dedicate myself to one market, however big it is. It's Arun's job, basically, to make sure that whomever is interested in Basique Français be, put in contact or be given the opportunity of downloading the app. I'm finished now with the presentation. If I have a few more minutes, I can do a quick demo. Is it okay? Do you have time?
Please go ahead.
Yes. Thank you. So I will go into the screen mode. Back again. This is what the app looks in on a smartphone, even though I'm on my PC Windows, my Windows PC, sorry. So here you have a smartphone screen. You have two flags. One is Indian English. going towards French. And you have a little person here, which is very important because on one smartphone, we can have up to 4 people learning the basics of French on the same smartphone. This is something that the French Ministry of Education is quite interested in because they want to bring French not only to the people they have in a class, but also to the family of that person, is not lucky enough basically to have access to a class. So people will be able, up to 4 people on one smartphone will be able to learn each at their own speed the basics of French. So I'm connecting myself as Jack PC. One of the characteristics of the product is that it starts where you stopped just before. So just before I stopped here, let me backtrack. This is basically the main screen. It shows you the 20 or so modules. The first module is learning how to spell your name, learning how to write your name, learning how to count, learning how to present yourself, learning to say where you're from and what languages they speak, learning how to ask questions, learning how to describe yourself, your hobbies, your family, asking your way around, going to the post office, describing your lodging, going to the doctors, going shopping, going to the pharmacy, buying food, going to the bank, buying clothes, buying a ticket, etc. Even, booking a hotel, why not? We added a karaoke, very important karaoke. Anybody that learns any language will have an accent. I usually take the example of Céline Dion, which is, thank God, known around the world. When Céline Dion sings, she sings in French, but when she talks from Quebec. She does not talk French. She has a very strong Quebec accent. So she doesn't need me to sing in French, but basically there's the capacity for the learner to sing in French and therefore work on their language skill. I will go into this module because it's one of my favorites. So there are 20-ish modules. Each module is made of lessons. Here you have 5 lessons, and the last lesson is always a test on the prior lessons of that module. So that module has to do with languages and nationalities. So these 4 lessons are each built around 4 dialogues. So basically it takes us 4 dialogues to cover at level A1 the language nationality issue. Let's go into lesson number 1.
In this unit, we will continue to study the French expressions used when meeting someone.
We will learn how to speak about our birthplace, as well as the languages we speak. We will learn the expressions used to talk about your address.
Let's go.
So several important elements. One, pedagogically, we introduce in the person's mother tongue, we introduce the content of the lesson. We also allow the person to get rid of the written part of the text, because not everybody can process oral information and visual information at the same time. Plus, some languages do not have an alphabet, so there will only be oral information given out. So we've done the first step of introducing the lesson. Second step.
Welcome to the first lesson of the unit.
In this lesson, we will learn how to talk about the languages we speak.
And we will learn how to ask about the languages other people speak and understand.
First, listen to the dialogue. Let's go.
You've listened now to several instructions such as listen to the dialogue, repeat after me, etc. Of those instructions, we have 2,500 in Basique Français. 2,500 instructions, which are at every time translated and worded, said in 20 different languages. The last language is Telugu. We have Hindi, we have Telugu, we have Bangladeshi, and we have Indian English, and we're working on Bulgarian and Romanian. But it's fairly easy for me to take this and to translate it into Tamil or Assamese or whichever. It's basically 1 man week of work. 1 man week of work only to add an extra language. So for the first time now, you're going to listen to French because we've introduced the lesson in French. Now that's the actual lesson.
Monsieur Bento parle portugais.
Madame Tanaka parle japonais et anglais. Elle ne parle pas portugais.
Et toi? Tu parles quelle langue?
Je parle français et un peu l'italien.
As you see, we've used the karaoke fashion to, as the words are said, they are colored out in karaoke, and when a word is actually underlined, they appear in a Pictionary.
Parler.
So
Monsieur Bento parle portugais.
the idea
Madame
behind
Tanaka parle japonais et anglais.
each of these
Elle ne parle pas portugais.
dialogues
Et toi? Tu parles quelle langue?
Je parle français et un peu l'italien.
The idea behind each of these dialogues is to limit them in time. The dialogues, the 70 dialogues, are almost all limited to about 10 seconds. Why? Because 10 seconds is something that the learner can memorize. The learner can memorize the actual dialogue and they can memorize the action. They can see that in France, you do this and you don't do that. Linked to the culture. So once the person, of course, learning French, they don't understand what is being said, but of course they can come back to this. Now we go into the explanations of what is the syntax, the grammar, the vocabulary. They come now.
To ask a person that you know well what languages they speak, you say, Tu parles quelle langue? And to ask a person you don't know what languages they speak, you say,
Vous parlez quelle langue?
listen and repeat.
I love this instruction because it's a very, very important instruction in French when you're looking for a job. You do not address your future employer using tu. Okay, the English made it simple by saying you, whichever. But I know in many languages there are some various levels, and in French we only two levels. But if you start saying tu to somebody that you're begging for a job from, it won't work. So another element which I will always remember, about a year and a half ago, we tested the product in Bangladeshi, and our tester was a young woman. She was about 20. She already had a baby in a crib. She had been in France for 2 years, and she had not been able to reach level A1 yet, probably because of the baby in the crib. And she understood this sentence. She heard this sentence in Bangladeshi. In French, when you know somebody, you say tu. When you don't know, you say tu. She had a smile up to here, as we say in French, jusque derrière les oreilles, because we just told her in a way she immediately understood, and that's the power behind this.
Tu parles quelle langue?
As said, we have multiple choice questions, drag and drop. Tetris. Tetris is when a word comes down and you have to decide whether it's a masculine or a feminine. But as I said, I insist a lot on the pronunciation side. So here we have the learner has to pronounce this sentence. Tu parles quelle langue? And you see the red frame, meaning it did not understand. So I try again. Tu parles quelle langue?
Vous
It
parlez
understood.
quelle langue?
So red, it doesn't understand. Green, it understands.
language used in this.
Like 1,700 times where we go through this. I want to cut short the demo by going to this famous roulette. Whoops,
When
one
you
back.
want to negate some act now, we show you different pictures and we pronounce the sentence, okay?
For example, here you should say,
Elle parle italien. Vous ne parlez pas italien.
So this is something I'm extremely proud of, which does not exist. I mean, our application, in short, does not exist anywhere in the world. So nobody teaches the basics of French in 22 different languages. Not only do we do that, but we also have this special generator, which generates a rebus. Remember, we are in A1 level, so the sentence is very simple, sujet, verbe, complément, and the subject has to do with languages and nationalities. So here, basically, the system is telling us, please say the sentence. This is vous, because it's a formal handshake. So it's vous ne parlez pas portugais. Vous ne parlez pas portugais. It got it. And then I can go on. And I can spend hours and hours practicing my pronunciation, having to actually make sentences come out of my head. Okay, and this is something that teachers love because they don't have the time in class to actually spend so many minutes with each student to get the students to say things. So simply with that app, this part of the app would be a good reason basically to use the product, because for teachers, it will help you seeing the level of your students rise as the weeks go by, because they've actually spoken French independently of your efforts. Voila. I'll stop sharing and answer questions if there are any. Thank you very much, by the way. I think, I don't remember if I thanked you so much for asking me to present the product. You may have heard that I'm quite an enthusiast about the product. I'm very enthusiastic because Basic French is only the first step. I'd love to work on Basic Standard Arabic in all the 20 languages of India. It's something that I'd love to talk to with, I think his name was Shri Vipin Kumar from the Indian government. I mean, there's an app that it's a universal engine that they could use almost immediately. Plus the fact that we're ready to move to India, our development, R&D development, etc. Sorry, cut you off. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your interesting discourse. Now the floor is open. I invite the participants, the learners of French language who have joined us to ask their questions or maybe their your observations or remarks. They can just, raise your hands if you want to ask questions, or in case you don't, you can also, write them in the chat box. So the floor is open, and any learners, if you want to ask any question, please, you may.
You can approach directly. You can.
Mr. Ashok Khanduri, I see your raised hand.
Ashok, vous avez une question?
Oui, madame. Bonjour, monsieur. Bonjour, madame. My name is Ashok Khanduri, and thank you for this brilliant presentation, sir. I had a question regarding this application, Ludovic. So basically, it's focusing on the beginners who are just going to start to learn the French language. And you have, I think, mentioned that you have plans of also focusing on the higher levels in the coming years. So will this app in the future provide us the possibility to interact with the French learners as well, and also there's experts of different languages ahead? Because there are language exchange websites on Play Store on which we can sign up, and then we can talk to the native speakers of that particular language. So will this facility be provided by this app in the coming times? And secondly, you also mentioned about the face recognition technology. Through face recognition, you can get to know I'll say the actions of the learners, but it may also be false in few cases. For example, you mentioned that Asians, when they smile, it's a bit méchant. It can be wrong as well in few situations. So, sir, these two were my questions, and I'll await your response. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Khanduri. Okay, the answer to question one is yes, probably, in the sense that the service of being able to talk via an app or via the web with other people who speak French who are willing to spend time with you is an obvious feature. We don't have it in the system yet, but it will be in the system. We're not rushing it because there are so many other sites that allow people to exchange in French via the internet simply through direct messaging or whatever. But our goal is to create a community of learners, but also a community of teachers, of professors. We are going to build a user club, and this user club will take into account the requests such as yours. And statistically, we will introduce into the next version the requirements that have been asked. Regarding your second point, it's a matter of huge research and development expenditure to determine if the person that looks Japanese is actually smiling and therefore is losing face and is not very happy. We have some ideas. For instance, if the person goes into Basic Français from the Japanese language, then we can be fairly certain that this person is actually of Japanese descent. Therefore, if he or she smiles, we have to be very careful as to our interpretation. But this is there's months and years of work if we want to analyze all these things. We will start with the pronunciation of the basic of French sentences from people that have a very strong accent, being sure that or telling these people that at this level of accent they are not understood, but at this level of accent they are understood. This is also a lot of R&D work, and we have the big data for that. Did I respond to your question, sir?
Yes, sir. Merci d'avoir répondu. Merci, monsieur.
Je vous en prie. Bon après-midi.
There is one more observation from Aditi Jain. She writes, Ludovic seems quite interesting. Thank you, Dipanvita ma'am, for arranging this workshop. I really appreciate your efforts you put in for language French. We came across many times that parents, students in grade 5-7 who want to help their children. This is a good platform for them. Thank you, Ms. Aditi, for your observation. So do we have any further?
Any other questions?
Yeah. Mr. Sunil Kumar, please.
Yes, Sunil.
Mr. Sunil Kumar.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Bonjour.
C'était très intéressant votre session, c'est très informatif. Moi, je suis prof, je travaille au Gulf, à Abu Dhabi. Et ma question, vous avez dit que vos logiciel est intégré avec le programme de Kavilem, ça veut dire c'est avec le Delph A1. Est-ce que en regardant votre logiciel maintenant, ça c'est très basique, mais comment on utilise ça pour améliorer les 4 compétences qu'on a dans les examens de Delph? Est-ce que vous pouvez nous expliquer un peu, monsieur?
Aujourd'hui, dans les modules qui sont dans le produit, il n'y a pas de test blanc Delph. Il n'y en a pas. Par contre, dès que entre guillemets, j'aurai le temps et les personnes pour faire le développement, on est connu de France Éducation Internationale nous connaît très bien, l'Organisation internationale de la francophonie nous connaît très bien, et donc on va travailler avec France Éducation Internationale pour inclure un module qui sera test Delph blanc. Aujourd'hui, le module n'existe pas, mais je peux vous dire que des personnes qui ont utilisé notre app, je reparle de Bangladeshi parce qu'il y a une très grosse communauté Bangladeshi à Paris, ce sont des Bangladeshis qui ont utilisé notre app, et grâce à notre app, ils ont pu passer le test Delph A1 parce qu'ils avaient l'habitude, si vous voulez, d'interagir avec des images, etc., etc. Donc, j'ose pas dire qu'on est prêt, enfin, on n'a pas un Delph A1 blanc, mais on va l'avoir. On va l'avoir peut-être dans 6 mois. Mais je sais que c'est un point clé, parce que des personnes comme vous, qui avez des classes, vous avez envie d'aider vos élèves à passer ce test.
We have one more question from Ms. Rupali Vashist. She writes, can this app be used for preparation for Delph A1?
Yes, definitely. It can be used, but again, we don't have the module that allows you to test how good you are at the preparation. You can prepare, again, the people that have, these 2 ladies that spent about 40 hours on the app on their own over a period of 1 or 2 months, they had 80% correct answers to our tests. So they are obviously ready for the level A1. But we did not incorporate a formal A1 test, Delph test. That's what we need to do is formalize the look and feel of an A1 Delph test, which is not in the product, but it helps acquiring level A1 for sure.
Thank you, sir. We have one more question from Dr. Vikas Kumar Singh. Sir, if you can unmute your microphone and ask the question.
Thank you, Vishal. So, Dr. Amber, thank you so much for your excellent presentation and the demo of this Ludovic app. Certainly, I have learned a lot from your presentation and understood a lot about the potential of gamifying French language learning by means of such applications like yours, Ludovic. And I think the future is augmented realities, which is not too far. I am, intrigued to know whether you or any other organization with whom you have been working with, whether they have done any sort of study on the participants' experience or assessment of this app and their learning experiences and interactions with this learning tool. So, is there any study experiences where the learners have shared?
It's thank you, sir. It's a very important question. We have started discussions with the University of Strasbourg, Strasbourg being one of the 3 capitals of Europe. In Strasbourg, there's a distinguished professor who teaches the science of education. And we will have, starting, I think, February, March 2024, an initial, what should I say, study of this on the subject that you were mentioning, which is a very important subject. We need proof-based data or studies. Right now, our only proof is that I can show you people having spent hours and hours on the app, and I can show you how their test scores have improved, etc., etc. So we have the data, but we don't have the paper, the research paper that explains the data. If you know anybody in India which would be willing to do that kind of research paper based on the use of Basique Français in a school environment at whichever level in any state of India, I would be glad to collaborate. I realize it's an important element, proving what you're saying. Right now, we have the data, but the data needs to be written about, if you'll allow the expression.
We will take last 2 questions. The one is from Mr. Niranjan. Mr. Niranjan, if you can hear me, can you unmute your microphone?
Yes, good morning, Monsieur Humbert.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. I am very impressed with this application, and it seems that it has immense potentialities. And even though the application has been designed for teaching basic Francais, basic French, but in a country like ours, where there are so many languages spoken, it might be applied also, for example, for basic teaching basic Tamil or teaching basic Bengali. Like the communities in India, they may well use this application to learn other languages. Have you ever thought of developing the possibilities of such application of your, I mean, the technologies that you are using, those may be used for such purpose, isn't it?
Thank you, sir, because it is indeed, as I said, in less than an hour, I'm having another meeting with people in Mumbai and Delhi about this specific fact. We have a universal engine. I indicated that to develop a basic German dialect, we only needed 3 man-months of a professor of that German dialect in order to create the content. I would only need 3 man-months of a professor of Tamil to create a Basique Tamil. It's so easy, and it's only 3 man-months because it's only basic. It's only level A1, which means about 1,000 words, 70 situations. But once the person has acquired that basic Tamil, the person actually interact in Tamil with a true teacher of Tamil and progress on their own. We've been asked to go, please go to level A2. One day we may go to level A2. You know what I mean by level A2, which is the next level up from A1. But we will not go to levels B1, B2, C1, C2, because if you don't speak French at level B1, then you shouldn't be there. So definitely my answer to your question is definitely yes. And that's one of the reasons why I want to set up shop basically in India, because the best people to teach Tamil or Assamese or Gujarati, they're based in India. I have people here in France, but they would be I know this because if you have, this is a side conversation. If I speak to somebody from Gujarati whose family is from Gujarati in France, they will probably speak Gujarati, but they will speak Gujarati with a French, something. So they don't speak Gujarati like Gujarati is spoken today in that state. That's very important. We want the languages which are spoken today in all those countries.
Thank you.
Sorry, it was a bit long, but yes, my answer is yes.
We will take up one last question from Mr. Aditya. Aditya, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
J'ai une question, monsieur. Est-ce que cette application est totalement gratuite?
Non, malheureusement, elle n'est pas totalement gratuite. En France, elle coûte, lorsqu'elle est achetée en groupe, la ville de Strasbourg nous a acheté 1000 copies, le département des Hauts-de-Seine à l'ouest de Paris nous a acheté 1000 copies. Lorsqu'on en achète plusieurs copies, le produit coûte 9 €. En Inde, Arun, Dr Stantalingham me contredira pas, je pense, le produit coûte 550 roupies. Et c'est un one-time cost, pour parler franglais. C'est pas un coût que vous payez tous les mois ou tous les 2 mois ou tous les trimestres. C'est un coût unique, 550 roupies, et vous avez l'application sur votre smartphone pour 4 personnes pour toute la vie du smartphone.
Merci, merci.
Je vous en prie.
So we have one last question. It's in chat box, but it's in French. I won't be able to read it. So
I'll try to read it for you.
C'est Swati Patel here.
Basically, the question, it's a remark which says that basically the learners can learn on their own. This was one of the elements that the French, the city of Paris asked us when we were asked to develop this app. Autonomy of the learner was very important. The learner has to be able to learn by rote. We all learn by rote. And if you're lucky to have a teacher, consider yourself lucky. But many, many people in France, even in France, do not have access to a teacher. And apparently from what the person from the Ministry of Education said, teacher access is also a problem in India.
thank you. So with this, I close the discussion round and we move forward. So now I invite Dr. Dipanvita Srivastava for the closing remarks.
Thank you, Vishal. It has been a spellbinding session. Both the sessions today, they enlightened us on so many aspects of language learning. Perhaps within an institutional setup, we are often constrained by the fact that we are within a class with a certain group and we concentrate on teaching techniques, creating content, but there is a larger world out there looking at many more things which are part of the entire teaching learning package. So when we look at apps like Ludovic, like Jack rightly said, so one of the most crucial elements here was the self-learning. And magically that transforms into the basic philosophy that IGNOU functions on. Even our learning materials are called SLMs, they're called the self-learning materials. In other words, autonomy of the learner, the DIY generation, do it yourself, that philosophy underlines most of our initiatives here at the university. So although we are within an institutional setup, we do give a lot of space to innovation, to give a lot of new ways to think, and which is why our programs, they fall under the category of what we call aspirational. Students aspiring to learn in different ways, taking different routes, les parcours alternatifs. So alternative routes to learning, teaching, they form the basics for us at IGNOU and at School of Foreign Languages. Although myself, I'm a faculty in French, we have several other foreign languages, and each of us has certainly benefited a great deal from the interactions today. I don't have enough words to thank you, Mr. Amberg, Arun, for having let us been in it, such an interesting interaction with Mr. Amberg, and all our participants who so graciously participated in the discussions. We are sure to be able to invite you once again sometime, and perhaps as Shri Vipin Kumar was mentioning about the various models of digitization education being looked at by the Government of India, translation into regional languages, use of languages for reaching out to larger number of learners, a lesser dependency on the teacher. These are things which apps like Ludovic, they promote. And I'm so happy and I'm so grateful to all our experts for the lovely addresses, the speeches, and of course the discussions that followed. Well, I'd request now Vishal to come up with the vote of thanks, please. Vishal.
As we all know, learning is always a good way to feed our mind, as it helps us grow. Through such informative seminars, webinars, we get a chance to boost our knowledge with a unique opportunity to dive into a field of subject that might be unfamiliar to us. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to all those who have made this event possible. I would like to start by profusely thanking our patron and Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Nageshwar Rao, who has been our guiding light, imparting wisdom and knowledge to us and nurturing our talents. Sir, your unwavering support has been instrumental in our growth and development. I would also like to extend my gratitude to our Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Sumitra Kukreti, who have always been supportive of our initiatives and encouraged us to strive for excellence. I would like to express my appreciation to our distinguished guest, Mr. Arun Kumar, President IFPRO, Shri Vipin Kumar, IAS, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Education, and Mr. Jack Amberg, President Ludovic, Paris, France, who have taken time out of their busy schedule to grace this occasion with their presence. Sir, your presence has added an extra spark to this event and made it even more special. Thank you so much for taking your time and teaching us new things. I would also like to thank Pro Vice Chancellors of IGNOU, Professor Satyakam, Professor Uma Kanzilal, Dr. Shrikant Mahapatra, Dr. Manroop Singh Meena, Professor Kiran Hazarika. I would also like to extend my gratitude to all heads of the departments and divisions and directors of regional centers IGNOU. A very special thank you to Professor Madhu Parhar, Professor and Director of COE. Thank you, dear ma'am, for helping us out with the logistics in organizing today's webinar. Next, I would like to thank our director, SOFL, Dr. Dipanvita Shrivastava, because of whom this webinar was possible. She organized this event and enabled us to learn new things about technology. I would also like to express my gratitude to all the respected faculties and students whose participation made this webinar a grand success, as it was able to attract the attention of all the curious and motivated students who are willing to learn and explore. Thank you again to all the respected chief guests and speakers, teachers, volunteers, and my dear audience. It was because of everyone's hard work that this event was possible. Thank you so much. And ma'am, with your permission, I might conclude this webinar.
Thank you very much, Vishal. Thank you once again to all distinguished guests, participants. Thank you for being there. And we hope to meet again very soon. Thank you very much.